Okay, good evening, everyone. We are sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Lili Nishmas, Yaakov Zev, Ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef Ben Tzion Ben Yaakov Zev, and for a great shidduch for Chayat Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel, and Refuah Shalema for Moshe Aryeh Ben Miriam. We are sponsored by Baruch Ian, who is actually leaving for Florida tomorrow, driving to Florida. Lila Nishmas Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba Esther Bas Yona Avram Ben Shmuel HaKohen Lefu Shalema for Liba Bas Anya by A.B. Spry, and for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for Yeshua Menachem Mendel Ben Bela Shendel Rivka. We are sponsored by Mark Frankel in loving memory of Yisrael Tzvi Ben Chaim Yeshua Falak, and we are sponsored by Berish Gesheman for Shalema for Shoshana Bas Adina Chana. We also learned from Mordechai Tzvi Ben Golda Estefadel Bas Chana should have a refuah Shalema b'Serch Sheichel Yisrael. Please, in the hall, if you could please keep quiet. We have to remember there's a share next door. We are holding by the two dots on the bottom line of Daf Mem Tes Amud Beis. The two dots on the bottom line of Daf Mem Tes Amud Beis. So now, Davar Alamed Mehekish, something that we derive first from a hekish, from a juxtaposition, right? Words next to each other. Davar Alamed Mehekish, Chayzer Malamed B'Kal V'Chaymer. We can then convey further with the Kal V'Chaymer, with the fortiori. How do we know this? B'Ditana Debei Rabbi Yishmael, from that which is taught in the academy of Rabbi Yishmael. It's taught in the academy of Rabbi Yishmael. Davar that which we learned in the academy of Rabbi Yishmael, that we had a hekish between the par Kain Gadol, the bull of the Kain Gadol, and the Sar Lavoi Zara. And we said, if over there where they're different, the par and the Sar are different, we say this law, then where things are the same, we should surely say the law. So here we have something that's initially learned out from a hekish, and then we employ a Kal V'Chaymer. Again, now we're on the top of Nun Amud Aleph. The top of Nun Amud Aleph. We have a minion again, right? That's really amazing. So. Yes, we have not think so. We have a minion. Full, thank you. Bringing the Shechina to Two Valley Stream Lane at Agad Yisrael Beizev, Fairways. Gedalia left. He's in the hall. Left. Okay. Davar Alamed Behekish, something that we originally derive through a hekish, Mao Sheyilmed B'Binyanov. Can we then convey through a Binyanov? Remember, a Binyanov is a mere comparison, like a Mamatzino. So Rabbi Yirmiyah says, well, obviously we don't do that. Because if we did, we wouldn't need to say that the shechting has to be in the north by a guilt offering. V'teisi b'minyan of mechatas. And then we should learn it out from a binyan of from chatas. In other words, we know by a chatas that it's north because we have a hekish from chatas to Ayla. Right? It says north by an Ayla, and it says ki kasher tishached ha'Ayla kach tishached ha'chatas. So that's a hekish. And if we would make a binyan of from a hekish, then we should make a comparison. Well, if we say it by chatas, we should say it by Hashem. The taisim of binyan of mechatas. L'may hilchas a kosvei. Why does it have to say north by Hashem? Lav l'meimer, it must be the davar alamed behekish, something that's learned from a hekish. Ein chayzer malamed bin binyan of. Says the Gemara. Well, what do I have to learn out the Hashem through a binyan of from chatas? Let's learn an Hashem from a binyan of directly from Ayla. They're both kachay kachim. So just like by Ayla we say it's north, so Hashem we should also say north. So you don't have to learn it out from chatas, learn it out straight from the source, from Ayla. My time, why don't we say a binyan of from Ayla? Oh, because there's a percha. Mishum dikal mifrach malo Ayla shekain kolel. An Ayla is burnt completely up l'shamayim, while an Hashem is not burnt up completely l'shamayim. So therefore, then it's no kasha that you should learn out Hashem a binyan of from chatas. Chatas nami dikal mifrach malo chatas shekain mechaperes al chayvei krisis. A chatas is a mechaper for an isakaris. So then the Gemara says, okay, but why do I need to say north in all three places? In Ayla, in Chatas, and in Hashem. Why do we need to say it in all three places? Gedalia, we were looking all around for you. We were waiting. What happened? Says the Gemara, now there was somebody here that wanted to give you a ride after the shir. Yes, and Shalom Fogel asks if the Rav could mute everyone. Yeah, I can, but it would be better if everybody would learn to mute themselves. Gedalia?
I just got home and I didn't eat supper yet.
Oh, that's okay. We would have served your supper here.
You would have told me that before. I would have stayed. But
I would have served you. Yeah, you missed a good chicken and rice.
Next time it's
yeah. You know, you have to call my bluff. You know, Dalia, I'll do anything to have you. You want.
I was in New York today for a funeral, and took us 3.5 hours to get home.
Wow! Did you go to the Wasserman funeral?
No, this was somebody in my neighborhood. We lived in the same building as them. Her son wanted me to speak.
Who? What's her name?
Kovin. I don't think you knew them. Russian family.
Kovin?
Kovin. K-V.
No. Rebellion knows.
Yeah, he knows them. Yeah. But she was nipped there yesterday.
Birthday Nemes. Okay, listen. It was 3.5 there or 3.5 back?
There was 1.5. At 11 o'clock in the morning, it was 1.5 hours. Back from Queens, it was 3.5.
You know, it's the you know, those schar psias on those rides are unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's all covered on mace, right? Covered on mace.
Well, the family worked with them for a long time.
Yeah. They asked him to speak.
Yeah, it was very close. They actually did for them.
Okay. All right, Gedalia, you get an understanding pass tonight. An understanding pass.
Thank you.
But as soon as you finish eating, I expect you back here.
You'll be back tomorrow?
So anyway, Gedalia, I would have given you a lot bigger trouble, but we have a minion even without you. Yeah.
Lucky for me.
Yeah, lucky for you. Lucky for you. Otherwise, the Blue Jays, you could write them off for next year also.
They may not need your help next year.
Yeah. They're already dismantling the team already?
Free agency.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not my help, it's your help. So here, now the Gemara, everything in the Torah is exactly needed. There's nothing extra. So choda mechoda lo yasya. We wouldn't be able to learn one from the other one. You can't learn out from Chatas because it's mechaper on Karis. You can't learn out from Ayla, but it's kula kala. The question is, why does it have to say north by Ayla, Chatas, and Oshim? Say it by two of them, and learn the third one out from two of them. Teisei choda metarte. Learn out one from two. This is pure Talmudic style. So the Gemara says, Mehei teisi. From which two would you learn? The Torah shouldn't write Ayla, V'teisi, Mechatas, V'Oshim, and learn it out from Chatas and Oshim. Oh, no. Ma'alahanach shekei mechaper. The Chatas and Oshim are mechaper on specific sins. The Chatas is mechaper for a sin of Koros. The Oshim is mechaper either for Me'ilah, or for Shvuas, or for Shifcha Charufa. Now, although the Ayla is also mechaper, if you're mavatal mitzvah say, let's say you didn't say kriyish man, it's mechaper, but the Ayla is not brought for a specific sin. So then it says, let the Torah not write north by a Chatas, but teisei mahanach, and learn it out from Ayla and Oshim. Can't do that. Because Ayla and Oshim have a certain stringency. Now this is a very unusual one. This is usually never heard. But Ayla and Oshim, both of them have to be a male. They have to be a male animal. A Chatas could be a female. So Ma'alahanach shekein zechorim, while the Chatas could be a female. So loy nichtav ba'oshim, let it not say it by Oshim, v'teisei mahanach, and learn it out from Chatas and Ayla. Again, there's a pircha. What's the pircha? Chatas and Ayla are both communal. There's the communal Chatas, the Musafin, and there's the communal Ayla. The Tamid is an Ayla. The daily perpetual offering is a Tamid. But there's never a communal Oshim. So therefore, that's why it has to say it by all three. Okay, good. Next rule. Chalking up these Shas rules over here. Dover alamed b'gzeir shava. Something that you originally learned through gzeir shava, like it says here chatas, and it says dir chatas. It says here sar, and it says dir sar. Something that we learn out from gzeir shava. Can you then pass it on through a juxtaposition because two items are next to each other? So davar alamed b'gzeir shava maushi yilmud behekish. Can you then transfer over through a juxtaposition? So Amar Rav Papa, so Rav Papa brings a raya. Oh, very interesting, a raya. Remember how this Rav Papa we're going to see is hotly debated, because we're going to refer on Amud Beis to Rav Papa. Rav Papa, it says, V'zois Torah's Zevach HaShlamim. This is the laws of the peace offering. And then it says, Im al Toda, if a thanksgiving offering. So here we have a juxtaposition between the Toda and Shlamim. Now the Toda, the thanksgiving offering, is in the family of Shlamim. Now we know, if let's say Rafal has money of Ma'aser Sheni, and it's the first, second, fourth, and fifth year of the Shemitah cycle, and he redeems his Ma'aser Sheni, he's not going to schlep up all his crops. He redeems it. When he brings his money up to Yerushalayim, he could buy a Shlamim with that money. From the juxtaposition of Toda to Shlamim, it teaches us that he could also buy a thanksgiving offering with that money. So let's see it inside. If it's going to be a thanksgiving offering, that Rafal could buy with his money of Ma'aser Sheni not only a Shlamim, but a Toda too. Now, with the Ashkechan Shlamim, the Asim Ma'aser, because it says Toda next to Shlamim, and we know that Rafal could buy a Shlamim with his money of Ma'aser Sheni. Now it says to Gemara, okay, but how do we know that he's allowed to buy a Shlamim with his money of Ma'aser Sheni? Shlamim Gufayim Minolan. Dichsiv Sham Sham. It's Xavier Shava Sham Sham. So here we have a sterling proof that something that we learn out from Xavier Shava Sham Sham, you can then transfer via a Hekesh, because it says Toda next to Shlamim. Amalei Mazur to Brei Ramari Ravina. So Mazur to Brei Ramari says to Ravina, he pokes a hole in Rav Papa's proof. He said, remember this question about whether you could derive one thing to it from another thing is only applicable to kachim. But here, one piece of our proof is coming from Ma'aser Sheni. Ma'aser Sheni, tithes of the crops, is not kachim. So Amalei Mazur to Ravina Ma'aser Dagan Chulam Ba'almahu. Amalei, so he said, well, we don't need both ends to be kachim. As long as what we're deriving, where the question is the Toda, whether it could come from Ma'aser Sheni, since what we're deriving is kachim, that's enough. Amalei Amra, where did the one who say this rules? Was he talking about Lamad Kodesh and Malamid Kodesh? Was he talking that both the source has to be Kodesh and both the derivative has, both that which we're deriving has to be Kodesh and also the source has to be Kodesh? As long as Rav Papa maintains that as long as that which we are learning, the Toda is Kodesh, we could learn this rule. So just remember that this proof of Rav Papa is controversial. Now, the next step, and if you're spinning from all these rules, so then you have something in common with a dreidel. Hanukkah is coming up. It's okay. 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 Look at Danny. He's spinning like a top. Okay. Yeah, Mark warned us that he might not be here tonight. Where's Marshall? Marshall didn't warn us. Barry is not here already 2 days in a row. Oh, he is here. Good. Barry, you weren't here last night because of the meeting?
I had an engagement I had to go to with a cousin. I'm sorry. But
Yeah, all right, don't do it again. Ruvain, you about a meeting? Yeah.
The truth is, Rabbi Weiss, I did the marathon and I didn't finish the very late, so what can I say?
Yeah, you look like you're still running. Do you remember? I don't know who remembers this, but there was a time that I was thinking of running the marathon to collect money to build the shul. There was a time I was thinking to do that. And my good friend, Tyrone Crone, whose real name is, I guess, Peretz Crone. Tyrone Crone, I have interesting friends. Tyrone Crone was the tumler in the kutches. And if you have the World's Guinness Book of Records, you will see that he holds the uncontested status of jumping the longest jump rope. He jump rope 9 hours straight. So, yeah. 9 hours straight, yeah. So I used to play ping pong with him in the kutches. He was the ping pong champ. He used to offer that if anybody could beat him in a game of ping pong, he would pay him $1,000. That was his shtick. But anyway, off hours, I used to play ping pong with him and tennis with him. And actually, I was makar of him. I put tefillin on him and some other stuff. But anyway, so he told me I had discussed with him about training for the marathon. And, I was going to run, the first week 2 miles and then 4 miles. And I was seriously thinking of running to raise money for the new shul before we built our new shul. And he really talked me out of it. He said to me, you should know that it's a nice idea, but you're going to kill your knees, and you shouldn't do it. And at the age that I was, and I listened to him. So we built the shul a different way, not on my knees. But anyway.
Otherwise, the 9 hours that he did was a double Dutch also.
The 9 hours that he did, now that you're asking me, the 9 hours that he did also in a sauna. It's unbelievable in a sauna. It's unbelievable the shape that this man is in. It's absolutely unbelievable. And by the way, now I keep tabs on him. He's in Florida now. A yid is a yid. He left the country, although he loved the country, to be Mekayim Kibbut of Aim and take care of an elderly mother in Florida. It's really a very interesting man, this Tyrone Crone. But anyway, excuse me. I had such a close tie to him that the first time I went after my new marriage, first time I went to Florida. That's about 5 years ago. I did visit him in Florida. I was amazed at the kibbut of aim that he was doing. Anyway, you never know what you're going to hear on this shir. Okay, Eddie, I know you want to try to jump 10 hours, but I know. I see it in Eddie's eyes. By the way, Eddie, I got your message about the money for Beitar. Thank you very much.
I can vouch for your friend because I ran 3 marathons. My knees are shot.
You ran 3 of major marathons or small marathons?
No, New York City Marathon.
Oh, you did. You did. Yeah. Knees are very important.
I lost mine.
I am sorry.
I walk and stand now.
There's no online as Paul Crazy Tyrone.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you found him online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talks about it jumping.
Yeah.
Simon Says.
His Simon Says is incredible. his Simon says, I brought him into my shul. Ruvain, do you remember him by the Matzah Shabbos learning program? We actually brought a ping pong table into the shul, and I played with him. I played with him with 2 rackets. He had 2 rackets, and I had 2 rackets. Nobody remembers this? Barry, it might have been before your time. It might have been before your time.
He jumped 332 times in a minute.
Who said that? Oh, you saw everybody.
I looked it up.
Yeah, he is really. And by the way, Shalom. He moved over to pickleball. He's doing. He has a reputation in Florida as being Mr. Lob. That's
How old is he?
He's older than me. He's older than me. Fascinating.
He's 58, 59.
Yeah.
I gotta go. This power is waiting for us.
Yes. Okay. Please don't interrupt me like this anymore. It's Yehuda, right? Yehuda. Why do I keep on forgetting your first name? Anyway, Rabbi Yehuda is saying that I didn't leave the house to hear about people jumping rope. He is a truly fascinating person. Truly fascinating person. I mean, he one of the things he did in Kutcher's is he used to do the trivia contests. My first Rebbitzin, Mem Libby, Aleh Shalom, also admired him because he was very kind. In Kutcher's, they attracted the older population, and he was very, very kind to elderly people. And he used to do all kinds of trivia about presidents and about. So he read my Svarim, meaning for living in passionate times, and he incorporated my Svarim into his trivia. It was really, really very interesting. And anyway,
Otherwise, the power is already under.
Yeah, Ruvain Shan, it says, I thought that this was a Gemara shir, not a shir about Kutcher's country club. All of our shalom. So anyway, I will tell you, although it's not such a humble thing to say, but sometimes you should know that Sichas Talmidei Chachamim is also Torah. The casual talk of a Talmid Chacham, I'm a little Talmid Chacham, but I'm a Talmid Chacham. The casual talk of a Talmid Chacham is also Torah. So if you're listening to me babble about this person, you might learn a thing or two. Anyway, Amalei Mazutra Bereder Amori Leravina. Now the Gemara says, Davar Alamed B'Gzeira Shava. Something that you learned from a Gzeira Shava, Maushi Lamed B'Gzeira Shava. So here the next question is, taking something from a Gzeira Shava and transferring it through another Gzeira Shava. Can we do that? I'm a Rami Bar Chama, so Rami Bar Chama has a proof. Tanya, it says by the mincha. Now there are 5 species of mincha. One of the species of mincha is the meruveches, where it's scalded. So Tanya soilas meruveches, it says fine flour that's scalded, so that tells us clearly that the mincha species, there's 5 different species of mincha, the mincha species called revucha has to be from fine flour. Lamadnu l'revucha shebo solas. Chalois minayin. Actually, this is not This is not talking about the different species of mincha. This is talking about the 4 different types of loaves. There's 40 loaves often in the Korban Todah. So 10 of them are revucha, are scalded. Now what about the 10 that are loaves, the unleavened loaves? Chalois minayin. How do we know that the 10 that are unleavened loaves are also from fine flour? Talmud Loimer chalois chalois. We have Gzeirah Shava chalois chalois. Rekikin minayin. What about the 10 that are wafers? Talmud Loimer matzos matzos. Oh, whoa! So that which we initially learned, chalois chalois, we initially learned the chalos from the revucha. We then transfer to the Rekikin with another Gzeirah Shava. So here we have a premier example of something that's learned with Gzeirah Shava is transferred with another Gzeirah Shava. Amalei Ravina, don't pull a fast one like that. Who says we learn it out matzos matzos from chalos, which in turn we learned out chalos. We in turn learned out. From a Gzeirah Shava chalos from revucha, maybe we learn the Gzeirah Shava matzos straight from the mafatana, from those that are baked in the oven, which is also, says Silas, Memai the matzos mechalos kamar, which was in turn learned out from revucha. Dilma Mamafat Gama. We learn it straight out from those that were baked in an oven, which says Silas, and then that's only one Gzeirah Shava. So the Gemara says, "You're right. You're right. It's not a good proof." Ella Amar Rav, here's the proof. Now this is a more intricate proof. Tanya, it says, by the Par Kohen Mashiach. By the power of the power of the Kohen Gadol, it says the kirbay upirshay v'hitzi. Remember, the power of Kohen Gadol is of a variety that is taken outside and burnt outside of Yerushalayim. So it says the kirbay upirshay v'hitzi. Its innards with its dung inside is taken out. We take it out when it's whole, with its innards, with its dung. Now, does that mean we burn it whole also before dismembering it, before cutting it up? Yachal Yisrefenu Shalom. I might think that the Parakay Mashiach we burn whole also. So the Gemara says, Nemar kan roisha yukrav. It says here by the Par Kohen Gadol, its head and its feet. V'nemar lahalan, and it says by the oila, roisha yukrav, its head and its feet. Ma lahalan al yidei nituach, that we dismember it, we dissect it. Afkan, before we burn the Par Kohen Mashiach, al yidei nituach. Oh, but does that mean we skin it also? We flay it? The oil is flayed. Do we flay the Par Kohen Mashiach also? Malahalon behefshit, afkan nami behefshit. Do we flay also the Par Kohen Gadol? Talmud Leimer v'kirbay upirshay. Its innards and its dung. My Talmud, what do we see from its innards and its dung? Amra Papa Kishem Shapirshay Bekirbay, just like the dung is inside the innards, it would be disgraceful otherwise. Kach Besarai Ba'ayrai. When we burn it, its flesh is in its skin, so it's not flayed. Oh, but how do we know this also? This is the Par Kohen Mashiach. We also burn the par and the sar of Yom Kippur. How do we know that the par sar and the par of and the sar, the goat of Yom Kippur, we also don't flay? So the Gemara says, "L'tanya Rebbe Yomer Nemar Kan." It says by the par and the sar of of Yom Kippur. It says, Oru Basar Uperesh, V'nem Alahalan Oru Basar Uperesh. That's Gzeira Shava. Malahalan Al Yedeni Tuach Shaloi Be'efshit. Just like by the Parka and Gadol, it's through dismembering without flaying. Afkan, the par and the sire, is also Al Yedeni Tuach Shaloi Be'efshit. So here we have something that was originally learned with Gzeira Shava, because we learned a Gzeira Shava from the Oila to Par Kain Gadol, because it says Reisha Krav by one and it says Reisha Krav by the other. And then we learn a second Gzeira Shava from the Par Kain Gadol to the Par Sar and Yom Kippurim, because it says Aro Basar Perish and Aro Basar Perish. So we have something that's derived through Gzeira Shava that is then passed on with another Gzeira Shava. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Next rule, and if you've lost a place because you're thinking about a tumler in Kutchers, with 3 lines from the top of Daf Nun Amid Beis.
And I'm also sorry that I piped up.
Yeah, that's good. You are certainly forgiven. And you're also forgiven your desire to learn. Desiring to learn is also always a wonderful thing. We want to welcome in Dr. Guy, Yaakov Warman, Menachem Yemansky, Saba, Barry Cement, Ruvain Pollack, Michal, Yisrael Fisher, Shalom Fogel, Shimon Klein, Eddie Chazan, Rabbi Kranz, Shelley Zeitlin in the car, Nachman Chapler, Irving Fishbaum, Mo Kushner, Yitzi Fuchs, Gedalia Engel, Naftali Jablin, Moshe Lehman, Abe Arbach, Yitzi Muller, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Daniel Rosenberg, Rabbi Yeshutman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram Chavin, Rafal, Danny Vogel, Yehuda Solomon, Elia Yaffe, and Herschel, as we, when everybody knows, and I don't know if I said Rafal and Rafal Hyman, every person that was needed to bring the Shechina into the shul tonight, even me. Now, next rule. Dover alamed b'gzeira shava, ma'oshi alamed b'kal v'chaimer. Something that we learn out of gzeira shava, can you then pass over with a 40 ori? So here, the Gemara says, kal v'chaimer, o ma hekish, she'ena melamed b'hekish. We said one hekish cannot convey from another hekish. Ima derava, ima deravina. We had 2 proofs that something that you learn from hekish cannot transfer with another hekish, either Rava's proof or Ravina's proof. Malamed b'kal v'chaimer, you could transfer from a hekish a kal v'chaimer midatada debei Rabbi Shmuel, like we learned in the beginning of the daf tonight with Tana debei Rabbi Shmuel, that you could learn out a kal v'chaimer from a hekish. Gzeira shava hamalamedes behekish, a gzeira shava that we can learn from a hekish. That was the proof that we brought with the Meiser Sheni by Shlomim and Taida. So Gzeira shava that you could then transfer with a hekish midra papa eino din shitolame b'kal v'chaimer. And this is a very interesting proof. We say that a hekish cannot transfer through a second hekish, and yet a hekish could transfer with a kal v'chaimer. A gzeira shava, on the other hand, that can transfer through a hekish, and like we said, we learned that gzeira shava that shlomim is with the Meiser Sheni from Sham, and then it learned out with a hekish to Taida. So then, since it has one up on hekish, and hekish could teach with a kal v'chaimer, so surely a gzeira shava could teach with a kal v'chaimer, ein a din shetalami b'kal v'chaimer. So the Gemara says that's good if you hold of the drasha Rav Papa, and you say that as long as that which we are learning is kachim, we could bring the proof. Because the source is Ma'aser Sheni, which is Ma'aser Dagim, which is not kachim. We can't bring a proof then. Rather, there's another Kal V'chaimer. There's another Kal V'chaimer to teach me that which we learn from a Gzeirah Shava, you can transfer secondly through a Kal V'chaimer. Ma hekish which cannot transfer through another hekish, either because of Rava or Ravina. Even the Ravina. Malamid b'Kal V'chaimer. We could transfer through a Kal V'chaimer in Tana B'Rei B'Shmuel. Gzeirah Shava ha-malamedes b'Gzeirah Shava, which we just learned a moment ago. Gzeirah Shava, which can transfer through another Gzeirah Shava. Chaverta midarami b'Chama, that we just learned from the fact that we learned out of Gzeirah Shava, the Par Koyin Mashiach from Oyla, and then we transfer through another Gzeirah Shava to the Par and the Sar of Yom Kippurim, which we just learned. So then, Eino Din Shetalami B'Kal V'chaimer. That's a nifty proof. In other words, a Hekesh cannot transfer to another Hekesh, but it can transfer a Kal V'chaimer. A Gzeirah Shava, which can transfer with another Gzeirah Shava, it surely should be able to transfer a Gzeirah Shava to a Kal V'chaimer. As we welcome in Dr. Udell. Okay. Next question. Davar alamid b'Gzeirah Shava, something that we originate from a Gzeirah Shava, can we then learn from a comparison? Davar alamid b'Gzeirah Shava, ma'u shi'olame b'binyanav. So the Gemara doesn't waste any time over here. The Gemara doesn't have a proof for this, and it says teku. We need Mashiach, Tishbi, Yataretz, Kushis, Yibayis. I don't know if any of you remember, we didn't have a teku for a little bit of a while, but I asked Akasha, why doesn't it say Eku? Why does it say teku? Say Eku, Elio Yataretz, Kushis, Yibayis. Why does it say teku, Tishbi, Yataretz, Kushis, Yibayis? I know you're not used to it, Eddie, Eku. But you can get used to Eku. Elio Yataretz, Kushis, Yibayis. So I wanted to say a big chiddush. That while he's Elio, even though he's here, and throughout the ages everybody has Gili, every great people had Gili Elio. Rebbe Eliyah Lapian had Gili Elio. The Chassam Sofer had Gili Elio. But while he's Elio, he can't answer anything. Because he's not a human. And Torah loy b'shamayim. Only when he comes back and he's a Tishbi again, he's a resident, then he could answer. So that's Tishbi Yataretz Kushis V'Yibayis. So when Herschel has Gili Elio, he can't ask him anything. He can't ask him. When he comes to you, Herschel, does he give you a shmek tabak? He can't tell us. Okay, he doesn't talk about these things.
I think I heard from my father that he said that anybody who was in the camps,
Yeah.
the Holocaust,
Yeah,
they were bound to have a Gili Elio.
yeah, that's a good word.
Did you have? He says he told me a story, which was
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I once heard from Rav Goodman. For many, many years, I gave a shiur on Thursday night and Monday night in the Woodridge Shul in the summer. It was a big schus. I used to have a whole crowd there, sometimes 100 people. And I gave Thursday night and Monday night about 10 minutes between Mincha and Ma'ariv. I used to really look forward to it. I met all kinds of people there. The Rav of the shul then, he retired. He's a Rabbi Emeritus now. He was a Rav for 53 years. Woodridge Shul. At the turn of the, not turn, about 100 years ago, the shul, maybe 80 years ago, the shul got a bracha from Rab Baruch Ber that it would always have a minyan. Now, in those days, it's not like today. Today, the country is becoming more and more a full-year place. The community's opening up all over the place. But years ago, there were ice storms in the winter, and to have a minyan so 1 year, it was one of the years where Motzei Shabbos Slichos was not at the end of August, but deep in September. And it was a freezing cold night, and it was Chatzotz, Motzei Shabbos of Slichos, and they only had 9 people. And Mamish, he said he gave up. He said, we're at 1 o'clock in the morning, is he going to get a 10th person? And suddenly they entered into the shul a truck driver. And he said, "Dear Slichos there!" And he was the 10th person. And Rabbi Goodman told me he was so relieved. And he davened Slichos. He said right after Slichos, he wanted to run over to the person and hug him. He said, "Wow, Rabbi Ber, we didn't miss a minyan." And the man disappeared. He said he didn't see how there was time for him to get out because he was going to run over. And he just disappeared. And he said, "Rabbi Weiss, I believe we saw Eliyahu that night." That's what he told me. That's what he told me. But anyway.
Well, obviously, he could have been part of the minyan then.
What?
Even though by Shemayim, he's not a Tishmi yet. I could be part of the minyan.
What? No. Loi b'shamayim, he is said on Psak. Here you go again. You want to extend it with a kasha. You want to make a rule and have a kasha. So the teretz is, when a person comes in the guise of a human, he could be mitzvah l'minyan. Can't paskin, but he could be mitzvah l'minyan. There are other examples that we read, if you read the literature, of people that came and were mashma minyan and they said it was Gilui Eliyahu. But anyway, we free slaves in order to make a minyan. We free slaves. We did that. How do you think we have Barry now as a regular Yisrael? No, really. One time he came in, we didn't have a minyan in Aguda, a very rare thing not to have a minyan in Aguda, and we freed him. Barry, I'm sorry I revealed that. That was really a secret, but anyway.
In the famous words, "Free at last, free at last."
We have another complaint from the bleachers that he's trying to weave in between Tyrone Crone and Rabbi Goodman and Dover Alamed B'Gzeir Shava, and he's having a hard time. He's swimming. Without that, he wouldn't have a hard time, but now he's having a hard time. So anyway. Don't get an idea that he's in a rush. He's not in a rush. He's ready to stay here the whole night. Now, Dover alamed b'kal v'chayma, ma'u sheyalamed b'gzeir shava. Something that you learn out from a kal v'chayma, can you now pass it with a gzeir shava? Okay, that's the next question. So the Gemara says kal v'chayma. Omag gzeir shava. She'eina l'meida behekesha. A gzeir shava you cannot transfer from a hekesh, as we proved midrab Yochanan. Yet malamed b'gzeir shava. Yet it could transfer through a gzeir shava. So again, let's hear what we're saying here. A gzeir shava cannot transfer secondly using a hekesh from Rabbi Yochanan, but it can transfer via a second Gezeir Shava, Midrami Bar Chama, from the proof that we learned out from the case of Meiser and Taida, Kal v'chaymer halamid behekish, a Kal v'chaymer that we could transfer through a hekish, mid the Tana Debei Rabbi Yishmael, from the Tana Debei Rabbi Yishmael that we learned on the top of Amid Aleph, Einoi din shetalamid b'gzeir shava. Surely it could pass over with a gzeir shava. So 1 second. Let's review this again. Let's review this again. Our original shaila was something that we originate from a kal v'chaymer, from a 40 ori. Can we then transfer with the gzeir shava? Again, something that we originate from a kal v'chaymer, can we transfer with the gzeir shava? So the Gemara says a kal v'chaymer that madach a gzeir shava, which cannot transfer through a hekish, can transfer through a second gzeir shava. So kal v'chaymer, which can transfer through a hekish, so it's more than a gzeir shava which cannot transfer with a hekish, should surely be able to transfer with a gzeir shava. Now, what was your question?
I think, because there's two takers.
Yeah.
I think,
No, that wasn't a taker.
no, but I think.
I missed a taker?
Yeah. I think so. 'Cause we were first-
1 second, I'll tell you in a minute if you're right. Yes, you're right. Try to jip you of a piece of Gemara. Davar alamid b'kal v'chaymer ma'ushi alamid b'hekish. Something that we learn from. No, you're wrong. Again, but it's okay because I want to review this one more time. Davar alamid b'kal v'chaymer, something that you learn out from a kal v'chaymer, can you transfer via a hekish? Again, our question is something that you originally learned with a kal v'chaymer, can you now transfer secondly with a hekish? That means, can you transfer two things that are juxtaposed, one next to each other, that its information was originally derived from a kal v'chaymer? So the Gemara says, Uma gzeir shava, she'eina lameida b'hekesha. A gzeir shava, let's say you learn something, sham, you cannot then transfer it via a hekish, mid Rabbi Yochanan, because of the drasha of Rabbi Yochanan. So gzeir shava cannot transfer via a hekish. Yet, the gzeir shava can. Kal v'chaymer halamed behekish. Excuse me. A kal v'chaymer which we can originate from a hekish, miditana de Rabbi Yishmael, from that which we learn from Rabbi Yishmael, einoi din shi'alamed behekish, then surely it should be able to come where it originates from a hekish. So let's see this. Let's see. Our original question is that where the original source is from a kal v'chaimer, can you transfer it via hekesh? So the Gemara says, a gzeira shava, which you cannot learn out from a hekesh. A gzeira shava, which you cannot learn out, where the source is a hekesh. But you can learn a hekesh from a gzeira shava. So a kal v'chaimer, which you could learn out from a hekesh, this is so interesting. A kal v'chaimer, which you could learn out from a hekesh, so even though a gzeira shava, you cannot learn out from a hekesh. But a kal v'chaimer, which you could learn out from a hekesh, surely you should be able to derive the hekesh from the kal v'chaimer. If you could derive a hekesh from a gzeira shava, surely you should be able to derive, if you could derive the hekesh from a gzeira shava, you surely should be able to derive the hekesh from a kal v'chaimer. So again, the Gemara says, but that's only if you hold of the raya of Rav Papa from Meiser Sheni. Hani kilaman de'eslei de Rav Papa, elaman de'leslei de Rav Papa, mai kilamemer. So this is the second teku that you were talking about. Teku that we don't know, if you don't hold of Rav Papa, if we're allowed to derive a hekesh from a kal v'chaimer. Now, next case. Davar alamed b'kal v'chaimer, if the source is a kal v'chaimer, maushi alamed b'gzeira shava, can we in turn transfer it with the gzeira shava? In other words, something where the origination is a kal v'chaimer, can you transfer it through a gzeira shava? So the Gemara says, well, we'll make a kal v'chaimer. Kal v'chaimer. Uma gzeira shava. She'eina lameida be'kesha. If the source is a hekesh, you cannot transfer it through a gzeira shava. With Rabbi Yochanan. Huh? What? What?
No, it said vacation.
Uma gzeira shava she'eina lameida be'kesha. Right? A gzeira shava. That you cannot. Yeah. Badach gzeira shava cannot learn where the source is a hekesh. Right? If the source is a hekesh, you cannot learn the gzeira shava. Mid Rabbi Yochanan, malamed b'gzeira shava, you could learn a gzeira shava from a gzeira shava. Right? That we learned from the din of the Parkei Mashiach and the Par V'Sara of Yom Kippurim about the dung and the flaying. Midirami Bar Chama, Kal V'Chaimer, that is learned out from a hekesh. Remember, a Gzeira Shava can't be learned out from a hekesh. A Kal V'Chaimer, which can be learned out from a hekesh, Kal V'Chaimer Alamin Behekesh Miditana Rei Rishmal, Einoi Din Shetalamed B'Gzeira Shava. Surely the Kal V'Chaimer should be able to convey through a Gzeira Shava. This is really, really a fascinating proof. Let's go that over again. We asked, something that you originate from a Kal V'chomer, can you transfer with a Gzeira Shava? And if the source is a Kal V'chomer, can you transfer it through a Gzeira Shava? So the Gemara says it's a Kal V'chomer. A Hekesh cannot transfer through a Gzeira Shava, yet a Gzeira Shava could transfer through a Gzeira Shava. A Hekesh, which can transfer Kal V'chomer, a Kal V'chomer should surely be able to do a Gzeira Shava. So it's such an interesting proof. We said that the Hekesh cannot transfer through the Gzeira Shava. Yet, a Gzeira Shava can transfer another Gzeira Shava. A Hekesh, which can transfer with the Kal V'chomer, so that's a power that the Kal V'chomer has over a Gzeira Shava. Because a Hekesh cannot transfer through a Gzeira Shava, and yet, even though a Hekesh cannot transfer through a Gzeira Shava can transfer through a Gzeira Shava. A Hekesh, which can transfer through a Kal V'chomer, so that's a strength that a Kal V'chomer has over a Gzeira Shava, and a Gzeira Shava could transfer over a Gzeira Shava, then surely a Kal V'chomer should be able to transfer through a Gzeira Shava. So that's a chumrah that that's a extra that a Kal V'chomer has over a Hekesh. A Hekesh cannot transfer through a Gzeira Shava, but a Gzeira Shava can transfer through a Gzeira Shava. So a Hekesh, which can transfer through a Kal V'chomer, so it's more than a Gzeira Shava, surely a Kal V'chomer should transfer through a Gzeira Shava. So that's the maskana, that a Kal V'chomer can then in turn transfer through a Gzeira Shava. Now, can you use a double Kal V'chomer? Something that you learn through a Kal V'chomer, can it then transfer through a Kal V'chomer? Interesting. Let's see this inside. Davar alamed b'Kal V'chomer maushi alamed b'Kal V'chomer. Something that I learn out from a Kal V'chomer, can I transfer through a Kal V'chomer? So the Gemara says, Kal V'chomer. Uma Gzeira Shava. Ma the Gzeira Shava. She'ena lameida b'Hekesh. A Gzeira Shava cannot transfer something through a Hekesh. With Rabbi Yochanan, that's a rule that Rabbi Yochanan said. So a Gzeira Shava cannot transfer through a Hekesh. But we just learned that a Gzeira Shava could transfer through a Kal V'chomer. So that's a strength that a Kal V'chomer has over a Hekesh. Because if you want to use a Hekesh, you cannot do it from a Gzeira Shava. But you could do a Kal V'chomer from a Gzeira Shava. Kedamran, like we just learned. Kal V'chomer halamed beHekesh, you could derive a Kal V'chomer from a Hekesh. Kal V'chomer halamed beHekesh, Meditaner by Rabbi Shmuel, Einoi didn't she have alamed beKal V'chomer? Surely you should be able to learn a Kal V'chomer from a Kal V'chomer. Here's the thing. A Gzeira Shava cannot I started, you see, I started it wrong. Sorry. Excuse me. Let's start this again. Kal V'chomer, umag Gzeira Shava she'ena lameida beHekesh. If the source is a Hekesh, you cannot learn a Gzeira Shava from a Hekesh. That's Mid Rabbi Yochanan. That's Rabbi Yochanan's rule. Yet, Malamed b'Kal V'chomer. Yet, if the source Yehuda, before you leave, let's just say a Kaddish. 1 second. I don't want to lose the minyan. Reb Chanani ben Akash Amarat Kadosh Baruch Hu Zakos Yisrael Lefik Chibelem Torah Mitzvah Shneim Adinai Chafetz Man Tzidkai Yadol Torah V'Yadeh.
Obvious Kadash Mirabo.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mivarach L'Olam Lo Me'el Maya. Amen. Thank you, Yehuda. Now, please forgive me from going slow here, but I don't want to miss one of the cogs over here in the argument. We're almost finished. This is a very intricate Gemara. So let's see it inside. Davar alamed b'kal v'chaymer, something that you learn out initially with a kal v'chaymer. Ma'u she'alamed b'kal v'chaymer. Can we transfer it via a second kal v'chaymer? So the Gemara says kal v'chaymer. We're going to argue a kal v'chaymer. Uma gezei reshava she'ena lemeida behekesh. If the source starts from a hekesh, you cannot transfer it through a gzei reshava. Mid Rabbi Yochanan. Yet, melamed b'kal v'chaymer, yet you could learn from a hekesh and make a kal v'chaymer kida amran like we developed. You could learn a gzeirah shava from a kal v'chaymer. It's very tricky, right? Uma gzeirah shava she'ena lemeida behekesh. You cannot learn a gzeirah shava from a hekesh. Mid Rabbi Yochanan. Malamed b'kal v'chaymer. You can learn a gzeirah shava from a kal v'chaymer. Kida amran. Kal v'chaymer, which can be learned from a hekesh. Kal v'chaymer, which can be learned from a hekesh. Minitaner by Rabbi Shmuel, Eina Yedin Shim Lamed b'Kal v'chaymer. Surely a Kal v'chaymer should be able to be learned from a Kal v'chaymer. So here's the argument. V'zel Kal v'chaymer ben Kal v'chaymer. This is a Kal v'chaymer, the son of a Kal v'chaymer, because we can't learn out a gzeirah shava from a hekesh, but we can learn out a gzeirah shava from a kal v'chaymer. So that means that the kal v'chaymer is stronger than the Hekesh, because you can't learn out Gzeira Shava from a Hekesh, but you can learn out Gzeira Shava from a Kal V'chaimer. So a Kal V'chaimer which can be learned out from a Hekesh, which is weaker than a Kal V'chaimer, then surely a Kal V'chaimer should be able to be learned out from a Kal V'chaimer. And that is a Kal V'chaimer ben Kal V'chaimer. Says the Gemara, yeah, but really, it's a triple limud. Because the whole din that we could learn out a Gezeira Shava from a Kal V'chaimer is also learned out from a Kal V'chaimer. Is also learned out from a Kal V'chaimer. So that's 3 Kal V'chaimers. That's not Ben Kal V'chaimer, that's Ben Benoishel Kal V'chaimer. So it's employing 3 Kal V'chaimers. We don't have a raya that you could employ 3 Kal V'chaimers. Ella, here's the Kal V'chaimer. O ma hekesh she'ein olamed behekesh. A hekesh that we cannot learn out from a hekesh. Either Rava, either Ravina, either Rava or Ravina. Malamed b'Kal V'chaimer. Yep, we could learn out a hekesh from a Kal V'chaimer. Then Kal V'chaimer halamed mehekesh. Then a Kal V'chaimer, which we learn out from a hekesh. Surely, Minatanim Rei Yishmael ain't a din she lamed b'Kal V'chaimer. Now that's a straight argument. A hekesh cannot teach a hekesh, but a Kal V'chaimer can teach a hekesh. So that means a Kal V'chaimer is more than a hekesh. So a hekesh, which is less than a Kal V'chaimer, could teach a Kal V'chaimer. Surely a Kal V'chaimer should teach a Kal V'chaimer, and that's Zel Kal V'chaimer ben Kal V'chaimer. Now, although it's late, you're going to forgive me. I'm going to go one more. And I'm doing that because I don't want to have to do it tomorrow night, which will start off the daf very cumbersome. So I'm going ahead a little bit more. Please forgive me. I know it's late. Davar alamid b'Kal V'chaimer, something that we originate through a Kal V'chaimer, ma'ushi yimlamed b'binyanav. Can we then convey it using a binyanav? So Amar Reb Yirmiyah Tajma Malak. Again, the question is something that we originate from a Kal V'chaimer. Can I transfer it with a comparison? So Amar Reb Yirmiyah Tajma. Interesting thing, by an animal. If you shecht an animal that's a treifa, let's say an animal has a perforated membrane of the brain. It's a treif. When you shecht it, although it's not kosher, it removes it from tumas nevela. The question is, what about if a bird is a treifa? It has a perforated membrane of the brain. It was bitten by a weasel. And you do malika. Does it also remove the tumah? So Amar Reb Yirmiyah Tajma Molak v'nimtza streifa. If you did malika, which we do on the kachim from the back of the neck, and you find that the bird was a treifa, it had a perforated membrane of the brain. Rameir says it removes the tumas nevel, which in the case of the bird is that if you swallow it, it's matame. Rameir Aimer ain't a matame bebeis abliya. It's not matame if you swallow it. Reb Yehuda says matame bebeis abliya. It doesn't remove the tumah. Amar Rameir. So Rameir says, well, Kal V'chaimer. Uma nevela behema. the tumah of a behemoth is much more severe than the tumah of a bird. Oman nevela behema. Shemitama b'magu b'masa. It's mitama if you touch it, if you carry it. Shchitasa mataris treifa mitamasa. Its shchita is matar the treifa from tumah. So nivlas oif. The nevela of an oif is not mitama b'magu b'masa. It's only mitama if you swallow it. Nivlas oif she'ena mitama b'magu b'masa. Surely ain't a din shetei shchitasa mataris treifasa mitamasa. That shchita should be matar the treifa. Now that's only. That kal v'chomer is good to tell me that the shechita of a bird, of a treifa, is metarit, kal v'chomer from the shechita of an animal. What about the malika of a bird? So now we're going to apply a binyanav. That was our question, something that we learned from a kal v'chomer. Can we pass over with a binyanav? And our binyanav is, ma matzina b'shechita shemachsharta b'achila. We find that shechita permits it to be eaten. Mitaheres treifasa mitamasa, it's mitar the treifa from its tama. So af malika, it's a binyan of malika, also kash is a bird, kachim to be eaten. Af malika shemachshar tabachila titar treifasa mitamasa. So that's a raya, that's something that we originally learned out from a kal v'chomer, we then transfer utilizing a binyan of. Rabbi Yaisi employs, this really has nothing to do with our Gemara. Rabbi Yaisi says, no, we employ a daya, that if we're learning from a source, we could only learn what the source is talking about. The source was shechting the treif of an animal, so we could learn about the shechting of the treif of a bird. Daya kenivlas behemoth ta'ira sheshchitasa metarasa v'loy malikasa. We can't learn out malika, because there's no din of malika by an animal, so that we cannot learn. However, the Gemara says it's not a good proof. Why is it not a good proof? Because what's our source? Our source is the shchita of an animal which is not kachim. And all of these rules are only by kachim. V'lohi. First of all, hasam. Number one, the reason why Rav Meir says that just like, this is really a very cryptic word, hasam, hasam, and Rashi says there's two arguments over here. First of all, hasam, over there, the reason why we then compare to malika to the shchita is not from a binyanav, but rather a hekesh, because it says Zois Torahs HaBehema V'Oif. So it puts a bird in juxtaposition to the animal. That's number one. And number two, how could you say that this is a rule of that which we learn out from a kal v'chomer we can then transfer through a binyanav, when the kal v'chomer itself is not kachim. The kal v'chomer itself is by an animal, shechting an animal of a treifa, that's not kachim. Ta'avihi mishchitas chulin kasyan. And therefore it's not a good proof to a question of kachim that we learn out from a kal v'chomer, and then we want to learn out to a binyanav. So therefore, it's not a good raya, and that's where the Gemara ends. Wow, Rabbi Isai. Not an easy Gemara at all. I want to thank you for staying and sweating it out. And it's a good Gemara to look over again, as Rabbi Kranz will tell you. And we want to wish everybody a wonderful evening.